Hello, everyone. Is the Prophet Michael David, aka Aries, and today is a very special day. Today is what would have been the 53rd birthday of the Prophet Tupac Amaru Shakur, and it's also Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, or at least the good ones. All right, so this video is going to be a little bit different than a lot of videos in the last few months. It's not going to contain really any math, no facts that you can verify or calculate yourself. It's going to be pure prophecy stuff and about a world that could have been. Okay, I'll do some background broad strokes real quick. Obviously, God does exist. She's the creator of the universe, the multiverse. The multiverse does exist, just not in like the Marvel movie way. Um, but yeah, everything that's happened now has happened before, and she's created many universes. This is not her first. You can tell by the complexity of the universe. But in this universe, and universes like them on this planet, that has to do with the prophecy of Mashiach, who I'm claiming to be, is that there is a Mashiach in a presumptive or a possible, better word for it, possible Mashiach in every single generation. And in the Jewish faith, this goes back to Abraham. But in reality, this prophecy goes all the way back to Adam and Eve and after they got kicked out of the garden. That being said, I'm the 333rd since Adam and Eve got kicked out of the garden, which makes Tupac Amaru Shakur the 332nd. Like I said, it's on average every generation, but not every generation has one. Like the baby boomers, there is no possible Mashiach in any baby boomer that's ever walked this planet. So again, God exists. It's all about this prophecy about the Mashiach, possible Mashiachs in every generation. It's not every generation, but on average it is. Since the Garden of Eden, I'm the 333rd, and Pac was the 332nd. So what I'm going to tell you about is about a world where Tupac didn't get murdered and eventually became Mashiach and then King Mashiach. Okay, now with my gift of being able to communicate with you guys through music, not my own, other people's music. In this case, it's Tupac's music. I'll tell you the story. Um, First, I'll tell you the end. Eventually he does become King Mashiach in everything, but his story is really told well metaphorically by these three songs that he made long in the past. And the first one, let's call it Genesis, because we all come from somewhere, and Mashiach, by definition, kind of has to be born in the darkness. And so this is the song, we're getting biblical, but this is the song that would be called Genesis. Okay, as always, I'm not going to embed any of the music, some for copywriting, mostly just because I don't know how to do it. I know my style is really lowbrow and everything, but just it's the best way that I can, portray information to you guys. So if you don't want to look up the songs, then don't. But the song was Still I Rise. It's not his oldest stuff, but it's back from his early 20s. Well, I guess he died in his mid 20s. So, but yeah, it's a really raw song. You can see why it's called Genesis. We all start from somewhere, but that's his story and everything. Some of it's metaphorical, but yeah, one of my favorite lines in it is, "I'd rather go to college, but this is where the game stops." Not everybody has the same opportunities, and Tupac did, you know, many wondrous things with the short time that he was given. He would have been 53 years old today, and he died at 25, which means he has been dead longer than he lived, and he's way more famous now than when he died. Okay, the second song in this three song set is one where this would like have emphasized Pac at the height of his power. He wouldn't have died at 25, but he would have, started acting more and still making more albums. Eventually, he would have got out from underneath the thumb of Death Row and Suge, and he would have started his own production company. So he made all the money for all of his work, and he just would have blown up and become the first, I guess, black billionaire. And later on, that's when in his mid 30s and everything, he would have changed, and he would have got into both math and politics, because he eventually would become the first black president of the United States before Barack Obama. And yeah, that's just how it would have gone. It would have been obvious. I mean, it seems strange now, but he had so much, many songs on deck. He made like 7 albums in his last year that were uh, all posted posthumously, or released, I should say. And yeah, but if he would have been alive to release those himself, he's just going to make more the next year and more the next year. And eventually he would have got to the point where he realized that, like, nobody else in the world can do this stuff. Only I can. I got to be more than just a normal person. But anyway, here's the second song. From a biblical perspective, let's call it The Burning Bush. So enjoy. So yeah, you can see why I call it The Burning Bush. I mean, out of all, I mean, I like a lot of Pac songs and everything. It's hard for me to narrow down to one, except Until the End of Time, because that's the one I have with the creator. But um, when we write on our enemies is right up there, just because of how Taurusy it is and everything. There's a lot of Pac stuff that I can't relate to as a Taurus, because it's just uh, I don't know, too erratic or too random, which helps with the primes, but not with the Taurusy thing, like the gallopy thing and the order and stuff like that. But yeah, the only other thing I would like to say is, like, anybody that's ever been pissed off about being like called out in songs or stuff, you know, it's kind of like that saying, have you ever slept with somebody that's so famous that they made you famous? Well, in this case, have you ever been dissed by somebody that's so immortally famous that they made you immortally famous? I can assure you that anybody that Tupac spoke about in his songs, nobody in the future is going to know really who they are or what they did, but they will know their names, because one time, way back before the beginning of time, they pissed off the prophet Tupac Amaru Shakur off enough that he decided to spend some time and put some lyrics and music around their name, and now they're immortally famous. And now the third song, the heart tugging one, just for the sheer fact that it's a world that did not come to pass, because Tupac did get murdered. And even some of the old stuff that I told you about, how him getting into the movies and becoming a billionaire did come to pass, everything. But eventually, and this is a common theme that runs through all Mashiachs, is that he would have survived until 42, and then he would have gone through the same experience that I did and realized that he was actually a prophet. Um, and his miracles obviously would have been his music and all his other art, but he would have gotten into the math stuff at that point as well, and then he would have had to explain it to you, and and he would have tried to explain it to you kind of how I explained it to you with my math and everything, but he would have done it with his music. Be like, who can outsell all other musical artists on the planet, or for movies, outsell all the other, actors on the planet. And yeah, he would convince you guys. I went through this thing, 42, and then 3 years later, at 45, he would have become king, or at least proclaimed himself king, or become presumptive Mashiach. Because again, there's levels, there's claimed, and there's a lot of people have claimed to be Mashiach, including myself. And then there's presumed Mashiach. Presumed Mashiach is like, you haven't done everything in the prophecy yet, but people assume that you're Mashiach, which means they have to do what you say. And then eventually you do all the prophecy stuff and you become King Mashiach. And so he eventually would have gone through the same thing I did from 42 to 45, and then he would have become King Mashiach. And so this last song is a song about a world that never came to pass, but would be the song about that emphasized how when he truly came to power, how Pac ran his ship, ran his kingdom, ran his empire. So enjoy. See, pretty intense one. And just for the record, violence, whether it's Nikki Heaton's song or violence and sex, but especially with the violence and killing and stuff, is metaphorical. To God, it just means like problem solving. Remember, music is the language of gods. It's made of waveforms and everything. Why do you think that we are drawn to it so much? But yeah, it's something that never came to pass. But you have to admit, it's a pretty good template for how to run a kingdom. Uh, Again, it just never came to pass. He got shot 9 times and killed at the age of 25, which was 20 years before he could become king and 17 years before he would have known he was a bona fide prophet. So, yeah, it's a sad story, but yeah, like I said, it's there is God and there is the multiverse, and not everything that you can think of can happen in another universe, but you know, a lot of it can. And anything I can think of can happen in another universe. And I know how she can create them and everything. It's just a sad story. But since today is Pac's birthday, it is birthday. So happy 53rd birthday to the prophet Tupac Amaru Shakur.